Hey everybody, I guess you're getting 3 vlog videos instead of 2. You're actually going to get a third one today. This is actually going to be part 2 of why I'm not a libertarian. I discussed one reason in part 1, so you should go watch that part 1. And this is part 2. Okay. I was talking about how libertarians are big property owners, property rights owners, and property stuff, and how that they're very extremely against tyrannical government. But tyranny is tyranny, and while government can be tyrannical, corporations are also very extremely tyrannical too. They are way on corporation side because they believe that people should have control of their own property. I have a problem with that. I don't think your property rights to your land, to your business, to your corporation, to your whatever should override civil liberties. Getting rid of tyrannical government only causes you to replace it with tyrannical corporations. We need limited government to enforce civil liberties and morality on corporations as much as we need corporations and businesses to enforce certain government from being they butt heads with each other. We have tyrannical government and tyrannical corporations. If we don't have them fighting each other for supremacy, one tyrannical system would override the other tyrannical. We need limited government to get businesses to do right, but we need limited corporations where the power isn't at the top, but the power is at the bottom in the people, we the people's hands. Not in the power shouldn't be in the politicians' hands, and it shouldn't be in the corporate electorate's hands. Anyway, it's a word that starts with a P. I don't know how to pronounce it. I know what it stands for. It means rich and powerful. The profiteers. We'll just say profiteers. The power shouldn't be in the profiteers' hands, and it shouldn't be in the politicians' hands. It should be in the people's hands. Civil liberties and civil rights should not be limited to home only. They should not be limited to your individual property. They should be allowed in the public sphere, and a corporation that wants to run as a corporation has to be in itself a public sphere entity, because it hires people, and it hires. So you should have the Bill of Rights should be implemented within the corporation. You should have, of course, free speech, and all these, the right to bear arms, etc. All these should be allowed everywhere, without any other than the basic think before you speak, think before you act type of concept. Other than that, and what other people think about you, you should be able to allow whatever free speech you deem necessary. People are going to judge you anyway, because everybody judges. They misjudge people, and they judge people correctly, sometimes, and incorrectly. Sometimes there's plenty of stereotypes in this world, and they come from both a source of truth and a source of myth, lie, legends type deal. Anyways, so if you get rid of the tyrannical government where they can't enforce corporations to do certain things, then corporations now have the power. They have the ultimate power, and they become tyrannical. They have the power to decide what you can and cannot wear at work, uniforms, dress codes, etc. They can now have the power to decide what you can and cannot say at work. They could suppress your free speech. They could suppress your right to religion. They could suppress your right to peaceful assembly, which would be to create a union, etc., etc. They could suppress your rights to religion, your right to political. Uh, they could say no certain. They could say no certain politics at work, no certain religious type stuff at work. They could basically suppress your free speech. On top of that, they can suppress your right to bear arms, meaning your company, with it being in charge, can say, we don't want guns on our property. If you work for us, you can't carry your gun. That's suppressing a civil liberty. Uh, Amongst others, when you get fired at work, there's no appeal system. Uh, it's like, okay, like when you go to jail for the and supposedly commit a crime. When you supposedly commit a crime and go to jail and have the justice system, we don't have that with corporations. They have the ability to just fire you, get rid of you. There's no appellate process. There's no justice system. There's no system to make sure that you are guilty of the crime to deserve getting fired. There's no protection from getting fired. They could just not want you there and get rid of you. There's no system. And with no tyrannical government saying there is a minimum wage system, which I do disagree with the minimum wage system, but when you have rich, powerful, tyrannical corporations that are in charge of everything, that run and rule everything, they can pick how much you get paid, and then that same amount of money, they get to decide how much you have to pay. See, I don't like either one of those. I think that the how much you get paid, while it should be a mandatory certain amount that like minimum wages to a degree, but I also think it should be based off of experience levels and other things, and how much you and the company agree to pay one another, and then that should be a yearly uh, renewed contract, so to speak. I think everybody should be individual subcontractors. I don't think people should be employees. That's kind of my deal here with that. And I believe people should actually get paid a percentage of their value that they benefit, that they percentage of the value that they produce for the company that they work for, along with a guaranteed living wage of some sorts, and a which I've done some videos about stuff like this too, but and of course maybe there would be a minimum wage with a limited wage, and then there will be a percentage wage, the three different paychecks or wages. You get one for just being there at work doing the minimum, and then you get another one for how much value you give to the company, so you get a percentage of that value back, and then another one, I believe you as a person should be, your company should not be, you should get at least 50%, if not more, of your intellectual property when you work for a company, just because they're paying you and they're uh, giving you all the equipment to create this thing, doesn't mean they should be entitled to 100% of the credit for that. You should be still given at least 50% of your intellectual property. I digress. There's we're getting a little on a tangent there. So anyway, when you don't enforce certain laws with a government, you allow a free reign, rich, powerful, elitist set to be just as tyrannical, if not more tyrannical, to the citizens. the employees, the consumers, the customers. And that is another reason why I cannot be a libertarian, because you're giving all the power to the top. Just like I'm anti-government, anti-big shot, anti-big wig, anti-control, anti-tyranny that way, I have that same problem with the corporations, because they're not running capitalism correctly. Capitalism is the best system we have, but it has so many flaws, and those flaws are there because in the capitalist system we're not created equal. You have certain people that are richer naturally or earn more money naturally than others. And yes, it's not fair, but sometimes it still is okay, because if I create something and a whole lot of people like the thing that I create and they buy it, okay. But and then this other person creates something and not as many people buy it, yes, that's capitalism. We both created something, but one of us made a lot of money off of it, the other one did not. That is up to the consumers to decide on which creation is better. But we have corporate greed and corporate tyranny over the citizens, the consumers, and the employees and customers and stuff like that. And that's why I can't support their system of that, because I don't believe your property rights overrides your neighbor's constitutional rights and or civil liberties. Yeah, so that's another reason. Now, that being said, like I said, the Libertarian Party is the only third viable party that's getting big and getting strong. And like I said in another video, there's secular humanists. I explained that was reason one. They're on all 50 states, so they're a viable option. Now, their candidate, in my opinion, fits a type of Antichrist. I'm not going to say he is the Antichrist. I'm going to say Chase Oliver fits the type of Antichrist. He is supposedly a Christian, but he's also openly gay LGBT person. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but you cannot be a Christian and gay, because being homosexual is clearly contradictory to the scriptures. And to truly be a Christian, you have to believe the Bible and all scriptures, and you have to believe that Jesus is the Logos, the Word, which means that the Word of God, Old Testament and New Testament, is Jesus and is God itself. And if passages in the Bible are clearly anti something, you should be also anti that something. And one of the things that the Bible is clearly anti is homosexuality. Another thing that the Bible is slightly a bit anti on is alcoholism. Another thing that the Bible is anti on, of course, is murder, rape, sex outside of marriage. These are things the Bible are clearly against. So if you claim to be a Christian and then you claim to be for something the Bible is against, you are not a Christian. Your claim is false and invalid, and thus you are a liar, which the Bible is also against lying. Now, he preaches his liberty gospel using quotes from the Bible, just like an Antichrist would do, just like a false prophet would do, just like a false teacher would do, just like a false preacher would do. Okay, so there's that. Him, of course, being openly gay and a Christian is he's not a Christian, but the Bible does clearly say that the Antichrist will claim to be Christ and will claim. There are passages in Revelation that say an Antichrist would hate women and not disuse to women for their natural usages or whatever, something like that in the Revelation, which implies that the Antichrist may be gay. We don't know. Yes, it's a male. Political power. This guy is for open borders, which means he's for one world government because he wants there to be no borders all over the world. This guy is for diplomacy, peace, not war. Antichrist will come in peace that will negotiate between Israel and Islam and will, make the deals and whatnot with all the powers. He's for big corporate control. We do know that there will be 10 kings with 10 kingdoms that are not countries. So where are they? They're corporations. They're big shots that will bow to the Antichrist. 3 will die, and he will rise. So there'll be 7. And there'll be 10, and they'll knock down the 7, and those 7 will vote for 1. I don't know if that 1 will be a member of that group or it will be someone else, but I digress. So libertarians are the ones that are for corporate control, not government control. And we do know that the corporations are the ones that are going to control the one world government, the one world economy, the one world currency, the one world everything. It has to be controlled by corporations, not governments. He's for diplomacy, peace, open borders, blah blah blah. He's a extreme leftist on some things, other things not so much. Claims he's for guns, but if you're not for guns everywhere, you're not for guns. For an armed society, and you're against police. What people who say that really mean is they're against police that in the way they are now, but they would prefer a armed citizenship security force. Which you know what an armed citizenship security force is, right? It's a militia, yes, it is. But in the hands of communist-ish type person, it becomes basically just like Che Guevara, just like any communism system. They disarm and they kill the people that don't agree with the party. That's how communism works. And this guy is a self-proclaimed communistic libertarian, so yes. There's that. So, will the Antichrist be communist? Probably, because his political policies in the Bible do appear to be of communistic or system. Because again, one world government, one world currency, one world everything. The government distributes evenly the foodstuffs, etc., etc. Which you get when you have which you can get when the corporations control everything and you don't have multiple governments all around the world fighting for control. When all the corporations control everything, there can be just as tyrannical, if not more tyrannical, than having a whole bunch of different governments all around the world fighting each other for control. Exactly. So there you go of why I'm not a libertarian and why I believe their Chase Oliver is a type of Antichrist. Personally, I believe there's always a remnant and always a type of Antichrist existing in all generations. Doesn't mean they are going to be the Antichrist of Revelation. This country needs a revolution. And it doesn't mean that those type of people are going to be the remnant, the 144,000 that are in the Bible remnant that appear after the rapture to witness to the world.